Diane stomped through my lavender field at dawn, spray painting orange X's across 300 plants like she owned every inch. "This is HOA property now," she said, waving a fake survey, ignoring my Whole Foods contract worth $40,000. I'm Mara Ellison, single mom, third-generation farmer, growing organic lavender for Whole Foods essential oils since my divorce 3 years ago. Diane became HOA president last spring, promising modern amenities, starting with a parking lot residents never actually requested. She eyed my 2-acre lavender field constantly, calling it wasted space during every board meeting I attended. Neighbors whispered Diane's son ran a paving company, hungry for contracts, desperate for a project this size. I dismissed the rumors, focused on harvest season, never imagining Diane would target land outside HOA jurisdiction. Diane mailed me a violation notice, claiming my lavender rows blocked community fire access that never existed before. I called the county. The fire marshal confirmed no such access requirement existed anywhere near my property. Diane doubled down, citing an easement from 1987 nobody in county records could actually locate. I requested documentation. She stalled, rescheduled twice, then claimed the paperwork was still being processed. My neighbor Ruth warned me quietly, "Diane always wins." She wore down the Petersons until they moved. The HOA board voted 3-2, approving emergency parking expansion onto my lavender field without proper notice. I discovered the vote happened during a meeting I was never invited to, despite being a paying member. Diane's son's company, Summit Paving, was already listed as the preferred contractor before any bids opened. I hired lawyer Denise Cho, who found the 1987 easement was forged, badly photocopied, dates altered. Denise sent a cease and desist letter, reminding Diane my land sat outside official HOA boundary lines. Diane ignored it, posting flyers calling me selfish for blocking much-needed community improvements to residents. Neighbors I'd known for years started avoiding me, believing Diane's version, whispering about my attitude problem. My daughter came home crying. Diane's daughter told classmates my family was getting kicked out soon. Diane fined me $200 weekly for unauthorized landscaping, despite owning the property outright myself. I refused to pay, so she placed a lien threat on my house through the HOA's attorney. Whole Foods called, nervous about supply disruption, asking if the contract's harvest timeline was still secure. I assured them everything was fine, though privately I felt the ground shifting beneath me completely. Diane showed up uninvited, photographing my greenhouse, muttering about code violations she'd invent later probably. I installed security cameras that week, a decision that would matter more than I ever imagined. Denise discovered Summit Paving had already purchased asphalt materials, weeks before any official board approval existed. That contract was dated the same week Diane first mailed me that fake fire access violation notice. The timeline proved this wasn't spontaneous policy. Diane planned seizing my field months before announcing anything publicly. For 2 quiet weeks, nothing happened. Diane seemed to retreat, and I dared to hope it ended. I focused on harvest, filling 40 crates of lavender buds for Whole Foods' upcoming autumn product line. Ruth mentioned Diane looked stressed lately, arguing with her son on the phone outside the clubhouse. I should have known better. With Diane, silence was never peace, only preparation for something worse. Overnight, someone mowed down half my lavender field, leaving tire tracks matching HOA maintenance vehicle tires exactly. My security camera captured Diane herself driving the mower, headlights off, 2 in the morning. I called police immediately. They classified it as criminal property destruction, opening an official investigation that day. Diane claimed she was removing hazardous overgrowth, insisting the county requested emergency vegetation clearance beforehand. The county denied ever making that request. confirming in writing no such clearance order existed anywhere. Whole Foods suspended our contract pending supply verification, threatening the ruined harvest I desperately needed intact. I broke down that night, calculating losses, $30,000 gone, destroyed in a single reckless act. Denise filed a police report, a civil suit, and an emergency injunction stopping any further HOA action. Diane spun the story at the next meeting, calling me litigious and hostile toward community progress. Several residents believed her still, applauding when she promised parking would proceed, despite legal harassment. I sat in the back, silent, recording everything on my phone, waiting for my moment carefully. That's when Ruth stood up, revealing she'd secretly recorded Diane admitting the easement was fabricated entirely. The room went silent. Diane's face drained of color, realizing her lies were finally unraveling publicly. Ruth explained she'd suspected Diane for months, ever since the Petersons mysteriously moved away last year. Diane tried denying it, but her own recorded voice played clearly through Ruth's phone speaker. I own 6% of Summit Paving. Diane's recording admitted, this parking lot pays my mortgage. Gasps filled the room. Even Diane's closest allies on the board looked visibly, deeply shaken now. The board president demanded an emergency vote, suspending Diane pending full investigation into financial conflict allegations. Diane refused to leave, screaming that residents owed her 4 years of unpaid volunteer HOA leadership. Denise arrived with county records proving the 1987 easement document used a font invented in 2003. That single detail, an anachronistic font, became undeniable proof the entire easement had been recently forged. Whole Foods' legal team joined the call, threatening to publicize the sabotage story nationally if unresolved. My phone buzzed constantly, reporters requesting comment on HOA corruption scandal destroying local organic farm. I realized suddenly the power had shifted. Diane was losing everything I'd almost lost completely myself. Police arrived at the meeting, requesting Diane step outside for questioning regarding the vandalism investigation ongoing. Diane was arrested that night for criminal mischief, fraud, and conflict of interest violations tied to Summit Paving. The HOA board voted unanimously to remove her permanently, citing forged documents and financial self-dealing evidence. Summit Paving's contract was voided immediately, county officials launching a separate investigation into bidding irregularities uncovered. My civil suit settled fast. The HOA's insurance covered full harvest losses, plus significant punitive damages awarded. Whole Foods reinstated our contract instantly, adding a public statement supporting resilient organic farmers facing harassment. Local news covered the story widely. Headline reading, Karen HOA president bulldozed wrong woman's lavender field. Residents who doubted me apologized individually, bringing casseroles, offering help replanting what Diane had destroyed. Ruth admitted she'd been documenting Diane for months, waiting for the right moment to intervene finally. My daughter's classmates apologized too, once their parents learned whose family had actually been telling truth. The county officially recognized my property boundary, permanently voiding any future HOA claims over my land. Diane's mugshot circulated online, captioned endlessly with lavender puns residents found darkly, thoroughly satisfying somehow. Summit Paving collapsed within months, losing every remaining contract after the scandal made regional business news. Diane pleaded guilty eventually, avoiding trial, but permanently barred from serving on any HOA board again. I replanted the mowed section myself, volunteers arriving weekends, turning tragedy into an unexpected community bonding project. The new HOA president visited personally, apologizing formally, offering to fund replanting costs from HOA reserves. 6 months later, my lavender field bloomed fuller than ever. Our Whole Foods contract doubled in volume. Ruth and I now co-host the neighborhood's Autumn Lavender Festival, funded partly by HOA reparations money. Some evenings I still smile, remembering Diane's stunned face, standing exactly where she once staked her lies.